I'm content creator Cori. I empower women entrepreneurs by sharing book writing and publishing solutions on my show, Page Turner's Studio with. Hi, I'm Cori. I'm a transformational publisher. I help people get their stories out to the world so they can make an impact. I'm also the author of 10 books, and I'm a writing coach. I run Aurora Borealis Publishing, and today we're going to be talking to Amy Friedl. This is going to be a really exciting show, just like every one of them, I know. We're going to talk about how to get out of your own way, which is something I'm sure everybody has dealt with before, and we're going to get some tips from a pro. But first, before we get started, I wanted to share that my book, The Treasures We Seek, came out just a few months ago, and you definitely need to grab a copy of this. If you love stories about people changing and growing and learning about themselves, and also heading off to a beautiful foreign country like Italy, make sure you get a copy of The Treasures We Seek, and the link is right below me. Also, Aurora Borealis Publishing has our own journals. These are gorgeous journals that my daughter and I did the paintings for these covers. They're 200 pages, super small journals, so you can just throw them in your pocket or in your purse or in your car. You definitely want to bring a copy of those with you so you can write down all your brilliant writing ideas, right? We all want to make sure that our stories get out to the world. So Amy has this fantastic story. While adventuring at Wisconsin's state parks, forests, and recreational areas, Amy Friedl formed StrongGirlsTravel.com, an online energy that seeks to encourage women to get outside of their own beds, their own heads, and their own comfort zones, which I think is a beautiful mission. I'm going to let her tell a little bit about her story and the inspiration for that and her book series in just a moment. So let's bring Amy on.
Hi.
Welcome, Amy.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show. So I wanted to start us off by talking about your story, because I got to read a much longer bio than what I was able to share on here. What inspired your books?
So my own journey, mental health, physical health, emotional strength journey over the last couple of years has really inspired this new book series that I'm working on. What started as me getting out and in the process of preparing for gastric bypass surgery and going through mental health therapy and on medicine to kind of get me where I needed to be. I set a goal to travel to all of Wisconsin's state parks within a year and a half. And in that journey, I met some incredible women in person and online, and started StrongGirlsTravel.com really just as a way I interviewed these women and wrote up articles about them and just the brave, intimidating things that they were doing to get out of their own ways. Anything from solo camping to rock climbing to moving across the country and starting a new job or starting a business, all of these brave, intimidating things that women were doing, their own brave, intimidating, right? Like we look at something and think, well, that's not a big deal. I could do that. But for some women, it was a big deal. And getting out of their own way to do the brave, intimidating thing. So Strong Girls Travel started as that online energy and has morphed a little bit into a new children's book series that I've started called Strong Girls Travel. Each book is set in a different national park. My goal is to write a book for every national park. We'll see how long that takes. It's a fiction story. The main character's name is AJ, and you never actually see her in the illustrations. I found this amazing illustrator named Drew Clark, who agreed with my mission of not having the story seen through the characters' pictures. But the illustrations focus on the park so that anybody could picture themselves getting out there and exploring on their own.
Oh, that's really cool. What age group is your book for?
Well, I taught 7th grade for a long time. And so I know that 5th, 6th, 7th grade, they can read more on a page, but they don't want to commit to a novel. So I would say anywhere on the far ends of that range, anywhere from 7 to 12 can read this. It's a great read aloud. Obviously, older kids can read it too. I have college age friends who are buying this book for themselves and their friends. But vocabulary wise, definitely upper elementary, middle school level.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a really good age to catch them with this sort of thing too. My own daughters are 9 and 11, and the 11-year-old is getting to that point where, she's starting to question things, question herself, question the world, and I'm seeing that with the friend group too, like that little wobble where they don't have the self-confidence that they used to have.
Absolutely. And in the stories, AJ deals with a very real mood that we all deal with at different times. In the first book, she's got this grumpy plan. She's like, well, if I act grumpy, maybe they'll pay attention and they'll change their minds and we can do what I want. And we've all been
Yeah.
there. In this current book, Strong Girls Travel, AJ's plans at Mammoth Cave. She has plans. She knows what she's going to see. She preps herself, and then the weather changes things, and she has to deal with, like, okay, well, it's not really what I expected. So now what? And dealing with that disappointment and starting to see things from a different perspective. So I've also noticed I have a lot of middle school kids who will read this, and they develop an interest in kind of the nonfiction area of it. They're like, oh, well, I want to research this park more, or hey, I want to learn more about digital art and photography, and kind of taking that what am I interested in approach to the story.
Oh, I love that. So it has so many different things that it can do.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So I wanted to share Amy's impactful page turner share. I've learned not to should on myself. I either need to do something or want to do something, but the idea of should is often attached to someone else's expectations of me and my time. Tell me a little about how you learned that one.
Yeah. So in my journey to figure out really who I was, what I stood for, what was important to me, when I was in the process of like I said, through therapy and in the process of I lost 140 pounds and kind of figuring out who I was and what I stood for. I started to realize that as I saw myself as, quote, fat girl who could do for other people before, and when I stopped doing those things, suddenly I didn't have a place in their lives anymore, and started to realize, like, if I'm the sum of what I do for you, that's not a real relationship. I'm not going to do this because I should do it. Should means you want me to do it. If it doesn't actually align with my goals for myself, my mental well-being, where I need to be, then we need to reevaluate this relationship. And that's kind of where that came from. Also, my oldest daughter is very inspirational to me. And I said once, I said, oh, I should do this. And she said, Mom, stop shooting on yourself. I said, what? That really left an impact when she said that to me, because, like, yeah, I need to do this, or I want to do this, not I should. Who says that? No, I don't say that to myself. Someone else is saying that to me. So.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective to take, and kudos to her for spotting that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, she's pretty brave.
Yeah. So this is Amy's being a page turner tip. Often we are our own worst roadblocks. Choosing to take a step out of your own way is a brave, intimidating thing to do, and could be the very thing that makes the difference between your current life and the life you want. How did this show up for you?
So I first noticed it when I was interviewing different women for stronggirlstravel.com. Some said, well, I would never go do that adventure. I wouldn't go rock climbing. I wouldn't go do that. I'm already nervous to go out for dinner by myself.
Yeah.
And realizing, like, that brave, intimidating means something different to every single woman out there. Um,
Yeah.
and so just encouraging those women, like, that might be the brave thing you need to do. And let's talk you through how, if you want to do that for yourself, if that's a goal, how can we help you get there?
Yeah.
And then realizing for my own life, after interviewing all of these brave women, for my own life, making the choice to leave a 22 plus year career of teaching to pursue a different life and to kind of rebrand myself was it was a game changer. Like, get out of my own way. And this is a big, brave thing. But if all those women could do that, and something in my mind that's as simple as going out for dinner alone, but in their mind was huge, and they could do that, I can do this too.
Yeah. I love that. I think it's interesting to try to think of things like, from other people's perspectives too. And, you know, just going out to dinner by yourself, the fact that to some people is a brave thing to do. But then thinking about the things in their world that isn't brave to them, that they're doing these things that are just like, oh yeah, this is easy. This is what I do every day. It really gives you an interesting perspective on how we are as humans and how, interconnecting, we're able to help push each other past those points so we can all do brave things by our own definition.
Exactly. And I think that the more of us girls supporting girls, we can see that. And it's not anti-man. My husband is very supportive of my efforts.
Yeah.
But, girls, we can recognize each other's strengths and help each other overcome whatever we need to with those weaknesses too.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Absolutely.
So this is the turn the page with Cori tip. Make your imagination your favorite playground by relaxing and asking curious questions when you're working on a project. Is this something that you got to do when you were working on your books? Because I imagine you were imagining so many different things when you were working on these.
Absolutely. Part of my process is I go to the parks first and I
Mhm.
plan my adventure, but then life has a way of teaching me some lesson along the way. And just being quiet in those parks and in those spaces and with that adventure, and whatever lesson I end up learning about myself or the world or my part in it makes its way into the book story every time.
That is incredibly cool. Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. So when I went, so with the Mammoth Cave book that just released, when I went 2 Marches ago, I went down that direction and I had this whole road trip planned. I was going to hit 7 national parks in 9 days to do research for the parks and take pictures for the illustrations. And I had this planned for months, right? I was saving and planning. And what I didn't plan for is that I was going to follow a winter storm all the way down south. And so by the time I got to Mammoth Cave and I was going on this road, I thought I was headed to the park, and all of a sudden I had to stop because the road was covered with water. And I thought, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I can't get into the park because I'm flooded. And pretty soon this ferry came over, and I just didn't know. I didn't have this part of the plan set that's just the Green River ferry. The river crosses the road all the time and the ferry gets you across. And what I thought was, oh, great, now I'm going to be thrown off my plans,
Yeah.
turned out to be the exact thing I needed, or the exact thing that was going to happen. And so that part actually makes its way into the book. And so that's the illustration
Oh,
of AJ coming up to the road covered with water and the ferry coming over to pick her up and say, oh, no, this is a normal thing. You're going to be just fine.
oh, that's neat. That's that whole like everything just works out for me sort of thing.
Exactly. And I thought I was going to see these beautiful, lush green, the rolling hills and it wasn't. It was March and covered in snow. And
Oh, that's so cool. And I love that you were able to incorporate that. So this is the make an impact tip with Cori. If you don't know what to write, think about what book you most needed when you were going through your own challenges. And from what you've been saying, I mean, the fact that your books are inspired by the challenges in your life, I just love that. Have there been times when you've been able to use the challenge that was like already in your head and then put that into your own book?
um, yes, but it's not. It's coming soon. So one of the books that we're going to put out this fall, we're looking to do a book centered in New River Gorge National Park, and that park holds a special place in my head, in my heart. My daughter and I visited that park after her senior year. We took a road trip, and I was 140 pounds bigger and hiking up to the Endless Wall Trail up to the top so that you could see the sunrise over the gorge. And then the physical challenge of that. And then 2 summers ago, when I went on my own, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this all by myself. But I'm a lot more fit now and I'm ready to do this and just taking on that challenge. And so I'm figuring out how that challenge is going to make its way into that book in the fall. I haven't quite figured out the story yet. It's not time to write that story, but soon it will be. And I know that challenge will show up there. I just don't quite know how.
Very cool. Sometimes it needs a little bit of time to percolate before it all comes together.
Yes, yes.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so wonderful talking to you about your books, and I love that you just dropped your second book. So I hope everybody's very excited to go and pick up a copy of that one. Can you show us the book again one more time before you
Absolutely.
go?
So, yep. So first book is Strong Girls Travel, AJ's Adventures at Indiana Dunes. Second book just released, Strong Girls Travel, AJ's Plans at Mammoth Cave.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this with us today, Amy.
Thank you, Cori.
All right. So we're going to send Amy back to the green room and we will wrap up. Well, thank you everyone for joining me again today for Page Turner Studio. We're on every Wednesday morning at 7 Pacific, 9 Central. And join me again next week when we will be talking to another guest and talking about books and business. Thanks for joining me.
You can learn more about my services and products at auroracoriolispublishing.com. Make sure to join me every week on the SWE Media Network YouTube channel and wherever you listen to podcasts.